Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. Welcome to the 15th session of this course of Yoga and Positive Psychology for Managing Career and Life. In this session, we are going to discuss asanas. Asanas as the intervention for managing self and career. You might recall in the last session, we discussed about this framework of intervention. Yoga and positive psychology, we are looking at from the perspective of self development, and for the self development we are going to discuss some interventions. These interventions are identified with respect to the different layers of self as described in the notion of Panchakoshas. So, in the Annamaya Koshas we are going to discuss two interventions, Ahar and asanas. You may also recall that in the last session we discussed about qualities of food and how food can be a major intervention for our well-being, which in turn result in managing ourself and our career better. So, we discussed about the qualities of food and how different prakritis are apt for different types of food, etc. In this session, we are going to talk about asanas. Before we discuss about asanas, let us look at what is the health situation at workplace. So, there are two studies from these two research papers we are going to look at. First paper of Padma and her colleagues, it talks about the health problem and the types of health problem prevailing in Indian workforce, and it says that around 56% of the people they surveyed across India had musculoskeletal symptoms. Around 56% of the total people surveyed in India they had musculoskeletal systems. So, some ailments related to muscles and skeletal system. 22% had newly diagnosed hypertension, 10% has diabetes, 36% had dyslipidemia, 54% had depression, some sign of depression, anxiety and insomnia, and 40% had obesity. Musculoskeletal symptoms included cervical and lumbar strains with or without disc disease, polyarthralgia and the muscle spasm and the heel pain. In another study, it is found that back pain is still the leading cause of sickness absence. Job related stress has an impact on productivity and work ability that has been demonstrated to have the significant predictive value for disability and early retirement. Back pain and job related stress are interrelated, and both have an independent and possibly negative synergistic effect on work ability. Consequently, workplace health promotion interventions to reduce the impact of back pain and stress perception on work ability should target both physical and psychological dimensions. We can see that the problems related to health are majorly about musculoskeletal systems, and that has a that has a clear connection with the sitting posture or in general postures we have at workplace. That is why asanas are very important to address this problem. However, we must remind ourselves definition of mind. We discussed in the previous session. The definition of mind given by Siegel and colleague says that human mind is a relational embodied process that regulates the flow of energy and information. You might also recall that we looked at the different components of this definition of mind and we juxtapose that with the 5 koshas of the human self. So, mind is embodied process, it regulates the flow of energy and that is related to gross body, and energy related aspect is related to the sheath of the subtle energy. So, asanas have to be looked at not just physical intervention. Asanas have as much impact on mind as our thoughts can have impact on our overall experience of life, and as much they are reflections of mind. At the outset for this session, I wish to acknowledge these two masters, Dr. Stephen Parker for his book Clearing the Path, and Dr. David Frawley for his book Yoga and Ayurveda. Asanas in nutshell reduce the aches, sudden pains and heart palpitation. It reduces the internal friction of the subsystems and subsystem within our body. Systematic turns, bends and stretches which are part of asanas, they lubricate the system and make it flexible. Regular practice of asanas enhances the feeling of energy, it slows down the breathing rate, it tunes the body and regain the inner rhyme. This also results in better sleep, which is sounder and more efficient. In fact, the very first studies of impact of yoga actually looked at the impact of yoga asanas on quality of sleep. Asanas help keep the body supple and strong while energizing the mind and boosting self-confidence. So, you can see that asanas are performed at physical level, they are most evident at physical level, but they also have great impact on the quality of the mind and quality of our day-to-day experience. Doing asanas on a regular basis has been shown to enhance brain wave coherence and improve functions such as memory and intelligence. It lowers the stress related hormones in the body and it increases both mental and physical performance. Asanas also contribute to emotional stability. How it contributes? It contributes to emotional stability by increasing the amount of neurotransmitters such as serotonin in the body, which is known to induce good mood and sense of happiness. Not surprisingly, asanas are great intervention for positive psychology. To understand this in more detail, we need to look at the connection of body, physicality, emotions, quality of mind and how it is connected to our day-to-day general experience of life. We need to understand that body is a physical structure within which our habits dwell and lived out. This is the beautiful explanation given by Professor Stephen Parker. So, we can look at our posture. So, asanas are posture not only for few movements, asanas are posture for life. So, just reflect on our posture. For example, standing posture. When we are standing, is it solid, balanced, aligned, relaxed so that there is no fatigue? or we have tendency to lock our knees in tension. While standing, do I sink my chest downward so that our shoulder seem to carry the weight of the world, throwing your lower back out of alignment and causing your head to droop forward and muscles in the neck to become tight enough to give you headache? That is what Stephen Parker asked in this chapter on asanas. So, asanas have to be looked at general posture of life as well. Why it is important? Why posture is important? Why we need to look at body postures so closely and how they are deeply connected to our experience of well-being, which in turn result in managing self and which in turn has impact on managing our career. So, many forms of body work actually try to create awareness of this kind of body armor and help to learn new habits. We learn to dwell or we indulge into different thoughts, and those liking and dislikings are called vasanas in the yogic literature. That likes and dislike is reflected in the body in different ways. So, asanas should be looked at as a way of exploring the very deep aspect of the self, also dwelling in the flesh and fabric of our lives. So, we use central skill of yoga, the application of mindful awareness, to conduct the exploration. Yoga asanas can help us to integrate every aspect of our nervous system, including our emotional experience, sensation, cognition, motivation and sanskar, the deep rooted pattern of thoughts which result into pattern of behavior, which result into pattern of situation we keep finding around ourselves in our day to day life. It is useful to quickly compare yoga and particularly asanas with the exercise, the physical exercise. The component of asana in the yoga is parallel to the physiological aspect of consisting bending, stretching, strengthening and holding a specific position. So, to that extent asanas are similar to exercise. However, yoga and asanas themselves, they render health benefit that are similar to exercise, but also go beyond it. So, yoga practice are actually driven by a goal of experiencing the calmness of mind by performing the physical posture. That is done with the breath regulation, and that requires a meditative state, that requires full attention to the activity, full attention to the moment we are doing. So, if we have a quick comparison of the yoga and particularly yoga asanas and exercise, we can compare these two things on the metacognition aspect, energy aspect and oxidative stress aspect. Yoga is a metacognition that denotes an aspect that makes yoga different from various forms of exercise. What is metacognition? Metacognition of knowing the process of knowing. Yoga practice aimed at building our metacognition because of the mindfulness nature of the practice of asanas. Because of the need to observe ourselves while performing asanas, it enhances our metacognitive ability. Exercise generally does not have that requirement. Paying attention is not very important aspect in the exercise, and that is why you must have seen that people keep listening music or keep talking, and it is very much allowed in the regime of performing any exercises. Second aspect is energy. So, yoga practice actually facilitates the energy conservation. That it does by economical utilization of energy for mental and physical benefits. In the exercise, we cause the energy utilization to support the body for physical exertion and its metabolic needs. So, in the exercise we utilize energy and the aim is to enhance the physical exertion. Third aspect is oxidative stress. Because asanas have this meditative element into it, meditation practice induce the uniform change in the biomarkers, and that in turn result into uniform change in the behavior, and that in turn is reflected in the improved cognitive performance and decreased oxidative stress. Whereas, exercise lead to erratic changes in the biomarker because it does not have the meditative element in it. Asanas predominantly enhance our metacognition and many other benefits, preservation of energy and cognitive abilities. All these impact of asanas happen because it enhances our interoception. What is interoception? We all or most of us are familiar to the term perception. Perception is looking out, making sense of the stimuli which we are receiving from outside. Interoception is looking within, giving attention to within, our own inherent internal states of being. And interoception is about giving notice to what is happening in our body. Please remember the definition of mind. This definition says that mind is a relational and embodied process that regulates the flow of energy and information. And if we look at the asanas and the process of asanas, we can understand that mind, actually whole body is mind. Whole body has the function like the function of mind. Every tissue and system in our body contributes to how we know things and even to the formation of intuition. This is sum total of our perception direct inward, and as a result of that our biofeedback mechanism and our metacognition both are enhanced. Interoceptive structure in the brain, that is the lamina of the spinal cord, that is vagus nerve and the insula of the middle prefrontal cortex, all of these elements actually collect information from the body and then it connect it to the various parts of the cortex, which is the frontal part of the brain. This is how we get the gut feelings and how we come to know things in our bone. You must have used this term, in my stomach, my gut feeling is saying something, I am knowing this in my bones. What is that? That is interoception. When I, instead of processing the stimuli and processing the information not just with the help of my prefrontal cortex, that means not only processing information through logic and thoughts using language, but we are also processing information through our body itself, which is pre-language, pre-thought, how actually I am feeling about something. And that feeling can occur in the stomach, that can happen in the brain part, that can happen in our limbs. When we give attention to that, signal comes from those roots as well, and all those signals are further processed by the cortex, and with that processing, when it is combined with the language and thought, we get something what we call gut feeling or our intuition. So, interoception is how we sense emotions within the physical body. How we are able to sense emotions in the physical body? We are able to sense emotions in our tissues because unconscious mind keep creating comfort or discomfort in the nerves with several stimuli. So, in a way emotions are trapped in some body tissues or all the body tissues. So, muscles, by changing the circulatory pattern in those tissues, they keep responding to the different information, emotions and environmental stimuli. There is another pathway which is called pathway of trauma. When we are traumatized physically or psychologically, the structures in the midbrain, particularly amygdala and hippocampus, take a traumatic snapshot, which include the physical sensation, images, cognition and emotion. So, no wonder while treating the severe traumas, most of the treatment methods, particularly the modern treatment methods, involve body, because body play a very important role in the traumatic situation. So, treatment of the trauma cannot happen without involving body, but body also plays important role in the less extreme cases, like during examination, talking to someone with whom we are not comfortable, we have a difficult relationship, or interacting with the authorities, etc. So, in day to day situations as well, body play a very important role. So, what do you feel in your neck, your shoulder, your back, lower back, your stomach, your heart while talking to authorities, while performing certain tasks, while planning your work, while thinking about your projects, while negotiating? All these are important to be noticed, because if I wish to be effective in this situation, I cannot be effective just by having certain knowledge or by having certain thoughts. If we want to be effective in the day to day situations of life, we need to take care of our body, and we have to give attention to the experience we have in the body. When we are able to address the stretches, when we are able to address the stress in the different parts of the body, we not only make our body flexible and relaxed, we actually make ourselves more effective in day to day situations, day to day professional and personal situations in life. Maharshi Patanjali talks about asanas in a very succinct way in 3 sutras. The first is the definition of asana. What he says, Sthir Sukham Asanam. You must have used this term asan in the sense of sitting posture. You might have also noticed that asan, the term is used for the place of sitting of some knowledgeable people or some vradha or senior people. We with the respect say that this is asan of my guru, or this is asan of Bhagwan in the in my temple. So, asan is a place we sit or place someone sits. In the yogic term, in the Raj Yoga term, in the Ashtanga Yoga term, the posture in which we can be sthir, meaning steady, and sukham, when we are comfortable, that is asana. So, it is not only about no trembling of limbs, it is more than no trembling of limbs. So, rather it is a quieting of mind body relationship to the point where mind body loses its desire to move altogether. We may say that by sitting very comfortably in the couch, I feel good, that is comfortable to me, and that is yogasana for me, but that is not so, because we may sit in the couch in a distorted posture and it may feel comfortable for few moments, but if you sit in that posture for longer time, maybe 5 minutes or even 10-15 minutes, you will realize that we develop pain if we sit in a posture which is not correct, even if that is feeling comfortable for initial few minutes. Asana can be steady and comfortable only when it is right, when our body is aligned. Initially, asana may look little uncomfortable, we may feel little discomfort, but if we wish to have ekagra mind, we should be able to sit in asana for long time, and to sit in any posture in the long time, it must be asana, it must be correct. Only in the correct posture we can sit for the longer time, and with practice we become comfortable in that posture. Psychologically speaking, mind and body are deeply connected. Yoga asanas are those postures where mind and body get aligned. When that alignment happens, body does not feel like moving, mind does not feel like wandering. So, naturally there is an ekagra chitta, the fourth quality of chitta as explained in the earlier session, that emerges. Vyas Bhashya says that what is asana? Samsthana, balanced configuration, that refers to maintaining the alignment of the head, neck, trunk in a meditative awareness. This refers not just to sitting meditation, but it is also about every posture body assumes on a day-to-day situation. So, naturally people who have mastery of the mind body through asana, they sit and move with balance and grace. You must have noticed that. Change and sthir both are aspect of the same coin. We, in order to be sthir, have to sometimes change the posture. So, in the practice of yogasanas, we change one posture to another to achieve one stability to the next level of stability. Second aspect of asana, as mentioned by Maharshi Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra, is called Prayatna Shaithilya. Prayatna Shaithilya Ananta Samapatibhyam. These are the two things to be looked at. These are the two sutras about asana. Let us look at Prayatna Shaithilya. So, what sutra says that posture is perfected, made steady and comfortable through relaxing the effort and in awareness with the endless or with the endlessness. So, there are two things. Asana is perfected when it is made steady and comfortable through relaxing the effort. When in holding asana, we need not to make effort. That is Prayatna Shaithilya. So, that is the state we need to reach while practicing asana. And second thing is Ananta Samapatti, that we are going to discuss in the next slide. Prayatna Shaithilya is a relaxation of all efforts. Only by such relaxation can one obtain genuine stillness of the mind body. When we achieve that stability and comfort, prana flow freely in those parts of the body. Actually, prana does not flow where there is muscle tension. So, refinement of asana is about releasing any tension there in the body. When total relaxation takes place, we need not to make effort. So, asanas have to be practiced to that extent, or we can say that we have perfected a particular asana where we can be in that posture with the fully comfortable and relaxed situation. Some very interesting experiments were conducted by Professor Lata Phadke in Pune and Dr. Sanjay Phadke and their team. They looked at the practice of the novice yoga practitioner and a senior yoga practitioner while they are performing asanas. They saw that the senior yoga practitioners have much better heart rate variability, that is the indicator of the health of the nervous system, health of heart and overall health indicator. They also noticed that the senior practitioners, even performing seemingly difficult and complicated posture, remain totally relaxed, and that is the reflection of a definition of yoga given in Bhagavad Gita, which is called Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Equanimity is yoga. Yoga practice, asana practice bring equanimity by externally performing the difficult posture, but internally remaining calm and steady, and in this process we naturally become comfortable. One extreme example is of Swami Vedabharati. Swami Vedabharati was giving a lecture on biological feedback, and he allowed one US doctor to fix EMG, electromyograph, to the few parts of his body, in the neck, in the leg and in the hands. This instrument measures the stress in the muscular system. After some time, after observing these readings of the EMG, doctor started chuckling, and this incident is mentioned in the Stephen Parker's book. Naturally, Swami Vedabharati asked the doctor, and others also got curious who were present in the session, why doctor is chuckling, what he found so amusing. He mentioned, he told that the Swami Vedabharati's EMG reading are reflecting utter relaxed situation of the muscles. This relaxed situation is generally, this kind of reading is generally found in the corpse, on the dead bodies, but here was Swami Vedabharati who was standing, he was making postures, he was explaining things, he was actually delivering a lecture. Even while delivering a lecture, standing and using mic and using board and writing on that, he was not having almost any stress on his muscles. It is difficult to explain these things just by looking at the physiological aspect, because by the physiological calculations, with that kind of relaxation, he should not be standing, what to talk about delivering a lecture, but he was standing. So, this aspect is explained by the masters by using the notion of prana. We are going to have more discussion on prana in the next session, but is inherently it says that when there are tension in the muscles, the pranic flow, the vital energies flow in those portion is restricted. When it is relaxed, the pranic flow is unobstructed, and when the pranic flow is unobstructed, the pranic energy itself provides the energy to the physical body to perform the action. In the yogic state, people do not make actions with the physical energy, they perform actions with the pranic energy. I know this may sound little esoteric, and there is a great scope to research and explain these things and understand these things empirically with the existing instruments, but notion of prana is very important in yoga. Pranamaya kosh is in is inescapable aspect of human self, recognized in all yogic traditions, but what it is suggesting is that asanas are the ways to release tension in different parts of the body, so that prana can flow in those parts easily. As a result of that, without much use of physical energy, we can perform our actions. So, that is the indicator of the prayatna shathilya. Another aspect is anantya samapatti. Ananta samapatti is a coalescences with the ananta, endless or endlessness. This is related to the endlessness such that as space and reaches uninterrupted identification, then the ahankar, the body configuration ceasing, and postures no longer cause discomfort. Ananta samapatti meaning being identified with endless or endlessness. How we achieve that? We achieve that by giving attention to different layers of self. So, while performing asana, a novice has to give much more attention in comparison to a senior practitioner. They have to give more attention to the physical body. However, as the practice grows, we start giving attention to breath, then we start giving attention to the emotions, then we start getting attention to the thoughts, and we become witness to ourselves while in series of asanas. Because of this expansion of the identification, first our identification is with our body, the larger identification is with our thoughts, emotions, prana, we develop a sense of witness, and that process actually expands our me map. We become more aware of our surrounding. We know that there are many studies, and I have quoted in the earlier studies, the studies and research conducted by our own team, which has seen that egocentric bias come down with the practice of yoga. So, our egocentric bias, our me map actually increases. We become more inclusive. Actually, the distinction between body and which is microcosm and the macrocosm start reducing. So, our identity with this limited body is loosened, and we start identifying with the larger system, and that is the reality, because we might identify ourselves as body, we might connect our individuality, our personality limited to this body, but the fact of the matter is that this body is constantly in interaction with the environment. We are constantly exchanging oxygen, carbon dioxide, we are constantly exchanging water, we are constantly exchanging food, environment, that is why keep affecting us, we keep influencing the environment. This is a constant interaction process. So, our self is not actually limited to the body, our self is much expanded. When this becomes our experience, when this understanding goes beyond cognition and reaches to the level of experience, and when this keep increasing, it reaches to the level where we identify with the cosmos. Those moments may be very few while practicing yoga or mindfulness, but they bring deep sense of calmness, and that result into a different order of metacognition. Why this is factual according to Maharshi Patanjali? That he explains in the 4th chapter of his book, Yoga Sutra, where he says, Pravritti bhede prayojakam chittam ekam anekesham. Chitta, mind, may look multiple, but inherently the mind or consciousness is one. This mind or consciousness is one that looks different in different bodies, and that sense of difference is because of my identification, which is limited to my body and my thoughts and my emotions. But reality is that what I call I is infinite, because there is one existence manifested in different forms. This is one consciousness or one chitta, that is what Maharshi Patanjali say, is captured because of ignorance in different forms, and through the practice of asanas we can have a glimpse of that infiniteness, because we become aligned, our system become aligned, our egocentric bias come down because of metacognition, because of mindfulness, because of awareness, because of alignment in the body, which result into free flow of prana. So, that is the ideal of performing asana, prayatna shathil and ananta samapatti. Asana is said to be, can be considered to be perfected when we are in this asana without any effort, that is prayatna shathil, and it can be said to be perfected when we experience the limitlessness of myself, myself with the small s merge into self with the capital S, if we use the term of Professor S.K. Chakravarti, who did phenomenal work in the field of spirituality and management. The next question is how to perform asanas. One must remain constantly aware of the flow of breath while performing asana. The process of moving into posture must begin from stillness, sthira, then move through inner stillness and return to stillness. So, Professor Parker mentions 6 steps. First step in performing any asana is centering. Bring back our attention to our body, bring back our attention to where we are. We can perform a very simple asana right now. Notice your body posture. Take your attention to your toes. When you take your attention to your toes, you naturally start making your body posture more sthir and more towards Sukham. For performing any asana, we must start from this state, centering ourselves, collecting back, recollecting our energies and attention to where I am. After centering, movement should start. Then moving the posture. After moving the posture, we need to stabilize in the posture. At least 3 to 5 breaths must be taken consciously in a particular posture. We can further deepen the posture and then move out of the posture and recenter for the same posture, same asana, or for the next asana. What we need to remember is that awareness at every stage is critical. Please use just the minimum muscle tension to establish the posture at first. Then muscles in the rest of the body must be kept completely relaxed. So, we need to give full attention to our body and the general experience. Then we have to expand the capacity mindfully. there is a ideal posture and there is what we can manage to do. While performing asana, I may not be able to do it perfectly, but we need to keep the picture of the perfect posture, perfect state of the posture while performing that posture, while performing that asana. When we hold that perfect picture of asana, we can consciously, mindfully enhance our capacity to practice that asana with the perfection. Be there till tension relaxes. Remaining in the stress is not at all can be said to be in the asana. Whatever asana we are performing, we must experience the relaxation into it. We must be able to relax ourselves, so that prana alone can hold the posture. While performing asana, we should not pause the breath, otherwise that will create tension and that will block the flow of prana. The next question is, what asanas I should perform? If you are observing this video, you might be asking, there are 84 asanas explained in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Which asanas I should perform for my well-being, for managing myself? To answer this question, the best reference is my body constitution. The best reference is what is the type of Vikriti I generally have. It is Vata, Pitta or Kapha. I am not calling it Prakriti, because to understand Prakriti is very difficult. What we assess through the questionnaires or through some other instrument is the Vikriti at that stage. So, what is the Vikriti I am having, what type of Vikriti I am having, that should be the point of reference to pick up those asanas which are appropriate for the person. So, Vata type needs asana the most, because they are the most prone to postural distortions. Kapha type, who tend to have more sedentary life, they move more slowly, they are benefited from more active form of exercise, more active form of asanas. And Pitta type of people mainly need asanas to cool down their mind and cool down their energy and focusing their temperatures. Let us look at the most appropriate asanas for the people with the different Vikriti or Prakriti. Vatas, the first constitution, that needs to perform asana in a way that reduces Vata, starting from the right mental attitude. So, Vata must remember to keep their spine flexible, that is the first thing, that is the first rule of thumb. Then they need a gentle attitude and gradually flowing movement, and that is best for them. They need to emphasize the asanas which focus on the pelvic region and colon, because that is the main site for Vata, and they should aim at releasing tension from hips and lumbar area. Sitting posture is good for Vata. So, there are asanas which are performed in the sitting postures, they are generally better for them, particularly those that create strength and stillness in the lower abdomen, like Siddhasana or Vrajrasana. These are some of the other asanas mentioned in this picture, which are most appropriate for the people of the Vata constitution. We can actually start from the Vrakshasana, then go to Uttanasana, Balasana, Tadasana, Matsyendrasana, Pavanmuktasana and butterfly or Titali asana and Virabhadrasana. Few other points about the asanas related to Vata constitution people is that spine twist like Matsyendasana, that is very good, that is an excellent for them, because that helps in removing Vata from the nervous system. Forward bend afford immediate relief for excess vata and producing the calmness and stillness. You might remember that vata prakriti people have tendency to jump from one thought to the next thought to the next thought very fast. Back end, if well grounded and done gently, that can strengthen the vata feelings of the centeredness and have warming effect. That strengthens the apan and colon like cobra posture, bhujangasana or makarasana. These are also useful for people with the vata constitution. Among the standing posture, tree pose, that is vrakshasana, that develops the stillness and balance. After asana practice, vata people must rest through the shavasana. What are the best things to be kept in mind while performing asanas for the people with the pitta constitution? So, putting the body regularly into the shoulder stand or the plow pose, that protects the lunar principle, which has the calming effect from the depleting heat of the solar principle and creates coolness, and that brings the balance. So, this principle applies to people with the pitta constitution. So, what asanas are more useful to them? Spinal twist, again the Matsyendrasana. You can also look at Marjari asana or the camel posture. These are also very good. But pitta people are benefited by postures that aim at releasing tension from mid abdomen, small intestine, liver, and that is where the excess pitta is accumulated. So, the bow posture, cobra pose or naukasana, what is called boat pose, these are very useful for the people having a more predominant pitta prakriti. There are clear asanas given, Yogapedia explains that as well. You can learn all these asanas by observing the videos of Swami Ramdev ji, and there are many other masters who are great experts in the yoga asanas. Many of these asanas are also part of common yoga protocol released by Ayush Ministry, and if you go to the Ayush Ministry website, if you look for the common yoga protocol, you can not only know how to perform that asana in a best possible way, you will also come to know that what are the typical medical situations where these asanas should not be performed. So, please take help of experts or take help of the expert sites like sites about asanas released by the organization of Sri Ramdev ji, as well as the common yoga protocol explained in the website of Ayush Ministry. Forward bends bring more energy to the mid abdomen, and that also has a cooling effect, and that is why it is useful for the pitta people. Back end tend to be heating, so that must not be done for the longer duration by the people with the pitta constitution, but it must be done with the moderation and must be followed by the cooling posture which are more front bending. Seated twist helps in the liver and detoxifying the pitta, so they are useful for the people with the predominant pitta prakriti. Let us look at what are the best yoga postures for people with the kapha predominant vikriti or prakriti. So, kapha are generally prone to high cholesterol, sometimes heart disease. The care must be taken not to overstrain their heart in any exercise program. So, that must be taken care of. Kapha should be made to do stronger exercises than they like and must be taught to challenge themselves. So, the best way to motivate kapha people is to give challenge, optimum challenge for them. Sitting asana tend to increase kapha, so that should be avoided. More standing asanas should be performed by the people having the kapha vikriti. Standing posture combined with the movement and stretching are the best for the people of the kapha constitution. Backward bend we looked at in the earlier side, that is not very good, and people with the Pitta Prakriti should not perform for the longer duration, but the backward bend is much more beneficial for the people with the Kapha constitution, because it enhances the energy, it increases the circulation to head and where the mucus easily build up for them. So, that helps in energizing them. Forward bend, which tend to contract the chest, are not good for the people with the Kapha Prakriti, that may cause emotional distress as well to them. So, the asanas which can be particularly helpful for the people with the Kapha constitution are Vrakshasana or Ardhachandrasana or the Adhomukha Ashwasana or Falakasana. Matsyendrasana, you must have noticed that is useful across the 3 constitution, and Dhanurasana. Kapha asanas can be more energizing, can be more active. So, this table is taken from the book of Dr. David Frawley. David Frawley explained in great detail what are the best asanas for the people of Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So, how should be the practice? The practice for the Vata people should be calm, slow, steady, grounding, strengthening and consistent. Practice for the Pitta people should be oriented towards cooling, relaxation, surrendering, forgiving, gentleness and diffusive. Practice for the Kapha people should be stimulating, moving, warming, lightening, energizing and releasing. So, you can see that we all have to discover our own constitution, and accordingly we need to identify the best asanas according to our Prakriti. This table is really exhaustive. It gives the list of the sitting postures which are best for the different Prakriti. It also talks about nature of sun salutation, Surya Namaskar. This is probably the most popular asana system. Vata people should do Surya Namaskar more slowly and consciously. Kapha people should be doing Surya Namaskar with little more vigor. Pitta people should be doing Surya Namaskar with much deeper awareness and very gently, and that can have a calming effect. In fact, Pitta people should be performing moon salutation, that is called Chandra Namaskar, because that is more suitable for their temperament. Similarly, David Frawley explained what are the standing postures for most appropriate for Vata people, people with the Pitta profile or people with the Kapha predominant profile. Similarly, inverted poses, which are the most useful for the people with either of these 3 predominant Prakritis. So, this is exhaustive list. You are requested to go through it. This lecture is to build the knowledge base about asanas and how these can be great intervention for managing self, and managing self means managing body, mind and our energies. This is not the yoga training. These asanas are mentioned, these are drawn from the well researched sources. To learn these asanas, you need to look for other resources. There are some websites which I have mentioned. Best is to take the help of some living yogi or living teacher who can really relate with you and really help to see what is your Prakriti, what might be the best constitution and best protocol for you, and they can also help you to stretch your limits and gain the perfection in asanas.